As I stood at the door, suitcase in hand, excitement bubbling within me for the vacation ahead with my daughter, a message suddenly came through. You won't be joining us on our trip to Europe. My husband would rather this vacation be a time for our family to come together. They chose to take only my father-in-law and mother-in-law with them, leaving me behind. After I took care of the expenses for their new home, I decided to halt all the payments and put it up for sale. What transpired when they returned home will leave you in disbelief. Before we move forward, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and share your location in the comments below. As I carefully folded my beloved travel shirt, a sudden buzz from my phone interrupted the quiet of the night, resonating against the nightstand. The blue cotton caressed my fingertips as I gently pressed out the creases, envisioning myself in it, at that charming bistro Lindsay discovered close to the Louvre. My suitcase sprawled open on the bed, a silent invitation half filled with thoughtfully selected outfits for our journey across Europe. The weather app promised bright sunny skies in Paris, ideal for the walking tours I had carefully printed and stowed away in my carry-on. I found myself softly singing a classic tune as I weighed the choice between my brown leather shoes and my trusty walking sneakers. The tickets to Charles de Gaulle rested on my nightstand alongside my passport, both items pristine and prepared just 6 hours until I would embark on my journey. My heart was alive with that familiar flutter of excitement before the journey intertwined with a hint of nervous energy. The phone vibrated once more. Lindsay's name flickered to life on the screen. I placed the shirt aside and grabbed my phone, anticipating updates on my flight or a reminder about our airport rendezvous. Instead, I stumbled upon words that sent a chill through my veins. It seems you won't be joining us on our trip to Europe. My husband believes it's best for this vacation to remain a family affair. I read it once, then twice, then a third time, my thumb lingering over the screen, as if it could somehow alter the message if I just held on a moment longer. The sweater I was on the verge of folding hung in the air, my thoughts racing to comprehend the scene before me. Only those who are family. The words echoed in my mind, relentless and unyielding, like a song stuck on repeat. I was her dad. This trip had been meticulously planned by me. I had purchased the tickets, explored the dining options, and meticulously crafted the itinerary during numerous late-night planning sessions. What did it mean to have family only when you were speaking with your own father? I sank onto the edge of the bed, the suitcase lying wide open next to me. My hands quivered ever so slightly as I crafted the only reply I could muster. All right. The heaviness of disappointment pressed down on my heart, a relentless burden. I surveyed my bedroom, taking in all the careful arrangements I had made for a journey that was destined to remain a dream. The small bottles of toiletries were neatly arranged on my dresser, the guidebooks adorned with bright yellow sticky notes, highlighting the spots we intended to explore. The camera I purchased just for this vacation remains untouched in its box. I shut the suitcase with intentional, measured motions. Every click of the latches echoed with a sense of finality in the stillness of the room. As I dialed the airline, I found myself immersed in the soothing strains of hold music, patiently awaiting the moment to cancel my ticket. The customer service representative was understanding, yet prompt in their assistance. "I'm truly sorry to learn about your shift in plans, she remarked, and I couldn't help but wonder if she sensed the disappointment woven into my tone. Later, I found myself in my living room gazing at the travel brochures strewn across my coffee table. The house seemed more desolate than ever, wrapped in a silence that echoed in my ears. In the quiet of the suburb, the sharp, persistent barking of Mrs. Peterson's dog pierced the stillness, drawing attention to something unseen in the distance. I grabbed a brochure, a shiny pamphlet detailing Roman architecture, and placed it gently on the end table. The gesture seemed insignificant, Yet it was the only thing I could muster in that moment of realization that I had been intentionally, thoughtfully abandoned. The evening settled in, bringing with it the same hushed void that had lingered in my home throughout the day. I drifted through the hours a mere shadow of myself, abandoning my dinner dishes in the sink, rather than washing them right away, as was my usual habit. The suitcase crammed and waiting by my bedroom door lingered as a poignant symbol of dreams that would remain unfulfilled. The soft hum of the television filled the living room, an evening news program playing in the background, though my attention was elsewhere. I found myself repeatedly glancing at my phone, aimlessly scrolling through empty feeds, a restless energy causing my fingers to dance over the screen. Perhaps scrolling through Facebook could offer a temporary escape from the emptiness I feel inside. I skimmed through Mrs. Johnson's cat pictures, the recipe exchanges from my book club, and the political rants I had no interest in engaging with. The soft blue light of the screen wrapped around me like a warm embrace, providing solace as the shadows deepened in my living room. Then I spotted them, Todd's parents, positioned in front of the Eiffel Tower, both beaming at the camera with that contented expression of travelers who had discovered the ideal moment for a photograph. The caption read, "The start of an unforgettable family getaway." The timestamp indicated it had been posted 2 hours prior. My thumb hovered paralyzed above the screen. Perhaps they had embarked on a journey of their own. Perhaps this was a vintage image they chose to unveil. My heart raced as I looked at the identical setting, identical light. With this image, charming Parisian drop. So grateful for family time in the city of light. I counted the faces in the photo with trembling fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. The word family burned in my mind like a brand. I set the phone down on the coffee table, its screen still glowing with their happy faces. I stood up and paced to the kitchen window, looking out at my neighbor's house where warm lights spilled from the windows. Families together for the evening. The betrayal hit me in waves, each one stronger than the last. I picked up the phone again, hoping I'd misunderstood, somehow hoping the photos would tell a different story. But they were still there, timestamps still fresh, their smiles still bright and carefree. The 4 of them together in the city I'd dreamed of visiting, spending the vacation I'd planned using the itinerary I'd researched. I walked back to the kitchen window and saw my own reflection staring back at me, ghostly and hollow-eyed. Behind my reflection, the phone screen showed their group photo, their happiness overlaid with my solitary image in the glass. The contrast was stark and painful, a visual reminder of exactly where I stood in their definition of family. I'd barely slept, tossing and turning, while images of their vacation photos played behind my closed eyelids. Morning came with gray light filtering through my bedroom curtains, and I knew I needed answers. I couldn't let this stand without understanding why. My coffee mug shook slightly in my hands as I sat at the kitchen table rehearsing what I would say to Lindsay. The time difference meant it was afternoon in Paris, perfect for a call. I took a deep breath and dialed her number, listening to the expensive-sounding international ringtone. 3 rings, 4 rings, then her voice bright and cheerful. "Hi, Dad." I could hear background noise. Todd's voice, street sounds, the bustling atmosphere of a European city. "I need to understand something," I said without preamble. "What's that?" She sounded distracted, probably looking at some monument or shop window. "I saw the photos on Facebook. Todd's parents are there with you." There was a pause, a long one. Then her voice changed, becoming defensive. "Dad, we can explain. You said it was family only. What am I, then?" Her tone shifted colder now. "Look, Todd said you can be overwhelming. He didn't want his vacation ruined." The word overwhelming hit me like a physical blow. ruined I planned this trip. I don't expect us to take care of them constantly. Constantly. The word hung in the air between us like an accusation. I supported you both when— That was your choice, she interrupted. We never asked for a guilt trip. I could hear Todd laughing in the background about something else entirely. His voice carefree and oblivious to our conversation. The sound made my jaw clench. Honestly, Dad, Lindsay continued, her voice hardening with each word. Todd was right. You felt heavy in my hand. I understand. Good. We'll talk when we get back. Understood. I hung up without saying goodbye. I set the phone down with deliberate care, the word needy echoing in my mind like a curse. I walked to my office, drawn by some instinct I couldn't name. The walls were covered with family photos. Me teaching Lindsay to ride a bike, her graduation from college, her wedding day, where I'd walked her down the aisle with tears of pride in my eyes. My hands slowly clenched into fists as I stared at these images of a relationship I'd apparently misunderstood completely. In one photo, I was holding baby Lindsay, both of us smiling at the camera. My reflection in the glass showed an older man, harder now, with something cold growing behind his eyes. I reached out and straightened the photo frame with careful, precise movements. The small action felt significant somehow, like I was adjusting more than just a crooked picture. I remained in my office after the call, surrounded by the evidence of what I'd thought was love but was apparently just usefulness. Each photo on the wall told a story I was only now beginning to understand properly. The wedding photo where I walked Lindsay down the aisle. I'd paid $30,000 for that day, every detail perfect, because I wanted her to be happy. The college graduation picture. I'd covered her student loans when Todd couldn't find work after his own graduation. The house hunting photos scattered across my desk. I'd co-signed their mortgage when the banks wouldn't approve them on their own. Christmas photos showed expensive gifts under trees I'd bought. Birthdays where my presents were opened last, almost as an afterthought. Each memory added weight to my chest, a growing pressure that made it hard to breathe. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out bank statements and receipts I'd kept from habit. The down payment for their house, $80,000 from my retirement fund, my money I'd saved for my own future, car payments I'd taken over when Todd lost his first job, credit card bills I'd paid when they couldn't make ends meet, the vacation fund I'd been building for years, money that had bought their tickets to Europe. But it wasn't just the money. I remembered canceled plans, sacrifices I'd made that went deeper than dollars. The fishing trip with old friends I'd canceled because Lindsay needed babysitting. The woman from my book club who'd asked me to dinner. I'd said no because Lindsay needed help moving. My own travel dreams postponed again and again while I supported theirs. Sunday dinners where Todd barely acknowledged my presence. Holiday gatherings where I felt like an outsider in conversations. The subtle ways he'd made me feel unwelcome in their lives while simultaneously accepting my financial support. The pattern was so clear now, I couldn't believe I'd missed it. My hands shook as I stacked the photos face down, unable to look at them anymore. The word needy played on repeat in my mind like a broken record. Suddenly, with startling clarity, I understood the difference between being loved and being useful. They'd never asked me to join their lives. They'd asked me to fund them. I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward and hit the wall. In the mirror above my desk, I saw someone who'd been taken advantage of for years. Someone who'd confused generosity with love and received manipulation in return. The reflection showed a man who'd been patient and giving and trusting, and had been repaid with betrayal and dismissal. I opened my laptop and stared at my bank account dashboard, the cursor hovering over the authorized users section, where both Lindsay and Todd had access to my accounts. My finger trembled above the trackpad, one click away from changing everything, but I closed the laptop without clicking. The action suspended tension, building like a storm, gathering strength. Some decisions required more than impulse. Some decisions required planning. I sat in the heavy silence of my office, the laptop closed before me like a door I wasn't ready to open yet. The weight of years of manipulation pressed down on my shoulders, and I found myself staring at the family photos I'd turned face down. The quiet house seemed to hold its breath around me. Then my phone cut through the silence with that familiar ping of my banking app. I almost ignored it, expecting another routine spam notification about credit monitoring or promotional offers. But something made me pick it up, maybe just the need for any distraction from the dark thoughts circling in my mind. The screen showed account alert transaction processed. I opened the banking app with my fingerprint, half expecting to see my monthly utility bill or grocery store charge. Instead, the transaction details loaded like a punch to the gut. 7:45 Laos Le Bernardin Restaurant, Paris, France. The timestamp showed 2 hours ago, right around their lunchtime in Paris. My mind connected the dots with painful clarity. Lindsay had used my authorized music the irony hotel charges, shopping boutiques, tourist attractions, all on my card. All while Todd's parents supposedly paid their own way and didn't expect us to take care of them constantly. I stood up, pacing around my office with the phone clutched in my hand. Every family photo on the wall looked different now, like evidence in a case I was finally beginning to understand. The phrase, "This is my chance," formed in my mind, clear and certain. I opened the card management section of the app, navigating to authorized users. Lindsay's name sat there in black digital letters, representing years of financial access I'd granted out of love and received manipulation in return. Another notification pinged on my screen. 85 Bonheur des Heures at Boutique Chic, Paris. She was shopping while I sat alone in my house, processing their betrayal. That decided it for me. My finger hovered over the remove user button for just a moment. Years of being the supportive father warred with the growing certainty that support and exploitation were different things. The confirmation screen appeared. "Are you sure? This action cannot be undone." I selected yes, remove immediately. The screen confirmed. Authorized user access revoked. I felt my first taste of real control in years, a sensation both foreign and satisfying. I set the phone down on my desk with deliberate care, looking at my reflection in the dark computer screen. For the first time in days, a small smile crossed my face. I walked to my kitchen to make coffee, my movements more purposeful than they'd been since receiving that first devastating text. The coffee maker gurgled to life, and through my window, I could hear my neighbor's lawnmower starting up, ordinary life continuing while my quiet revolution began. The next morning found me at my kitchen table, actually enjoying my coffee for the first time in days. The morning paper lay spread before me, and I was reading about local high school graduations when my phone rang with aggressive persistence. The international number was one I recognized, and I checked the time. 9 a.m. here, which meant 4 p.m. in Paris. I let it ring twice before answering, no longer eager to please or worried about missing their call. "Good morning to you too, Lindsay," I said, hearing her sharp intake of breath on the other end. "Dad, what did you do to the card?" Her voice was immediately demanding. "No pleasantries or concern for how I was doing. I removed your access to my account." "Don't give me that. I tried to pay for lunch and it was declined in front of Todd's parents." The shrillness in her voice could have cut glass. The waiter had to come back 3 times. It was humiliating. "That must have been embarrassing," I replied, taking another sip of my coffee. "Embarrassing. It was mortifying. You can't do that. I need that card. For what I thought you didn't need me taking care of you constantly. That's completely different." Her voice was getting higher with each word. Is it? There was a pause, and I could hear muffled conversation in the background before she came back with venom in her voice. You fix this right now, or there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? Todd and I have been talking. When we get back, we're looking into care facilities. My coffee cup paused halfway to my lips. Care facilities. You're getting older, Dad. You obviously can't handle your finances responsibly. The cruelty in her tone was breathtaking. We'll sell your house to pay for it. You don't need all that space anyway. I heard Todd's voice in the background. Tell him it's for his own good. Todd says it's for your own good. I sat in long silence processing these threats. They wanted to institutionalize me and sell my home because I'd stopped funding their vacation spending. The audacity was staggering. Dad, are you listening? Restore my card access. I heard every word. Good, so you'll fix it? No. What do you mean no? I mean no. Enjoy the rest of your family vacation. Dad, don't you dare. I hung up and set the phone face down on the table. My hands were steady as I took a long sip of coffee looking out my kitchen window at my well-maintained yard. This house I'd lived in for 30 years, paid off in full with my name alone on the deed. The house they thought they could sell to warehouse me somewhere convenient. I stood up with new purpose, leaving my coffee unfinished, and walked toward my home office with determined steps. There was work to be done. I pulled my house deed from the filing cabinet, spreading it across my desk, like a battle plan, but it wasn't my own deed I was studying. It was the second property document, the one for Lindsay and Todd's house on Maple Street. My name alone on the title, just as it had been since I bought it for them. I remembered the conversation 2 years ago. Just for the mortgage approval, sweetie, we'll transfer it to our names once everything's settled. They'd been too busy with their lives to handle the paperwork, always promising to get around to it next month, next season, next year. I found Marcus Chen's business card in my desk drawer. He'd sold me both properties, a trustworthy man who understood discretion. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. The drive to his office took me through familiar Davenport streets. Mrs. Patterson waved from her garden as I backed out of my driveway, her friendly gesture a reminder of the ordinary morning this appeared to be. 20 minutes later, I parked at Chen Real Estate, housed in a converted Victorian that Marcus had restored with obvious care. Marcus looked up from his computer as I entered, surprise and pleasure crossing his features. Gary, good to see you. How's retirement treating you? I need to sell the Maple Street property quickly. He paused, his experienced eyes reading something in my expression. The house you bought for Lindsay, is everything all right? Everything's fine, I just need it sold. What's the market like? Marcus turned to his computer, pulling up comparable sales with professional efficiency. Market's hot right now, properties like that in that neighborhood, 180,000, maybe 90,000. The number hit me with satisfaction. I'd paid $130,000 2 years ago. How quickly are we talking? Marcus asked. As soon as possible. Price it to move. He pulled out listing paperwork, property inspection schedules, his movements practiced and reassuring. We'll need photos, maybe some staging. I can have my team there tomorrow. The house is currently occupied. Oh, will Lindsay be handling the showings? Lindsay's in Europe? I have keys. Marcus looked slightly confused, but professionally accepting. We discussed listing price, commission, closing timelines. I signed the listing agreement, my signature firm and decisive. I'll start marketing immediately, Marcus said. In this market, we could have offers within days. We shook hands, and I appreciated his professionalism, the way he asked no unnecessary questions. Walking back to my car, I felt lighter than I had in days. The classical music from my radio filled the silence as I drove slowly through downtown Davenport, seeing my hometown with new eyes. At a red light, a young family crossed the crosswalk, father carrying a toddler, mother pushing a stroller. I remembered when Lindsay was that age, before everything became about money and manipulation and what I could provide rather than who I was. I pulled into my driveway, and sat for a moment looking at my mailbox with Owens painted on it in faded letters. The name felt different now, like it meant something again. I walked up my front steps, keys jingling in my hand, a sound that promised more changes were coming. Inside my house, I opened my laptop to find an email notification from the real estate listing service. Property listed successfully appeared on the screen, and I felt a surge of moving services data. Large corporate companies filled the first I found Dave's years, the kind of business where you talk to the owner, not a call center. I dialed the number, hoping for exactly that. Dave's moving. This is Dave. The voice was deep, straightforward, no corporate script. I need help moving some belongings tomorrow. It's a time-sensitive situation. What kind of timeline are we talking about tomorrow morning, if possible? It's a full house worth of items. Where are we moving from? And to, Dave asked. I gave him Lindsay's address, explaining that everything needed to go to storage. Storage unit lined up, he asked, and I realized I needed to arrange that too. I can recommend secure storage on Brady Street, Dave continued. Work with them all the time. Want their number, and within minutes, I had Janet from Secure Storage on a three-way call discussing logistics. For a full house, you'll want at least a 10x20 unit, Dave advised. First month paid in advance. That's $120, Janet added. I'll take it. Could someone meet us there tomorrow? Back on the phone with Dave, we finalized the details. My truck and 2 guys, we can start at 8 a.m. What's the address again? I provided Lindsay's Maple Street address, adding the residents are out of town. I prefer to have everything done before they return. Understood. Family situation. Dave's tone suggested he'd navigated these waters before. Something like that. Been there myself. We'll be efficient and respectful. After ending the calls and paying for storage online, I made myself dinner with an appetite I hadn't felt in days. I set my alarm for 6:30 a.m. earlier than my usual retirement schedule, and laid out work clothes, my old jeans and boots from my contracting days, before I'd become someone who funded other people's dreams instead of pursuing his own. I sat in my living room watching the evening news with different attention. The weather forecast promised clear skies, perfect for moving. Everything was falling into place with a precision that felt both satisfying and inevitable. That night, I double-checked that my phone was charging, setting it on my nightstand next to a glass of water. In the bathroom mirror, brushing my teeth, I saw someone I barely recognized. Someone ready for action. Someone who'd stopped waiting for permission to take control of his own life. I arrived at the Maple Street property at 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes early, as was my habit. The familiar house looked different to me now, not my daughter's home, but simply a property that needed to be cleared. Dave's moving truck was already parked outside, engine running, exhaust visible in the crisp morning air. Dave emerged from his cab as I pulled up, a sturdy man in his 50s, with the practical demeanor of someone who'd handled countless family situations without judgment. His 2 crew members, younger guys in matching company shirts, were already unloading equipment with efficient movements. Mr. Owens, Dave extended a work-roughened hand, ready to get started. I unlocked the front door with my spare key, the house silent and empty in a way that felt appropriate. We walked through room by room, Dave assessing furniture and personal items with a professional eye. This is going to take about 3 hours, maybe 4, with the heavy pieces, he said, making notes on his clipboard. I pointed out what belonged to Lindsay and Todd, which was everything. The expensive sectional sofa I'd bought them last Christmas, Todd's elaborate home office, set up with gaming equipment, Lindsay's extensive wardrobe that filled 2 walk-in closets. The crew started with boxes from the bedrooms, wrapping and labeling with systematic care. I insisted on helping, despite Dave's protests about liability. I'm not that old, I told him, earning a grin from one of the younger workers. Soon I was carrying boxes labeled Lindsay's books and Todd's sports equipment, feeling a strange satisfaction at seeing their possessions being packed away so methodically. In their bedroom closet, I found photo albums from their wedding. Flipping through, I noticed I was conspicuously absent from most pictures. Todd's family prominent in every shot, while I appeared in maybe 3 photos, always at the edges. I closed the album and handed it to Dave's crew. Room by room, we cleared out expensive items I'd forgotten I'd bought them. Designer handbags, electronics, the leather dining set I'd purchased for their first anniversary. My back started to ache, but I pushed through, driven by a purpose I hadn't felt in years. In what would have been a future nursery, I found baby furniture they'd optimistically assembled for grandchildren that never came. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was I being too harsh? Then I found Todd's credit card statements showing luxury purchases, while they claimed poverty to me, and the doubt evaporated completely. "You okay, Mr. Owens?" Dave asked, noticing my pause. "Just memories. Keep going." By 11:30 a.m., we finished our final walkthrough of the empty house. Rooms echoed differently now, afternoon sunlight streaming through bare windows onto vacant floors. I locked up and pocketed the keys, following the moving truck, to secure storage where I watched their belongings disappear into Unit 47B. I paid Dave in cash, adding a generous tip. "Hope everything works out for you, Mr. Owens," he said with genuine warmth. Driving home alone, I saw my phone light up with a Facebook notification. I pulled into my garage, the device still buzzing in the cup holder, like an insistent reminder that my quiet morning was about to become much more complicated. Inside my house, I finally checked the buzzing phone to find multiple Facebook notifications. Lindsay had posted angry status updates. Some people have no respect for family privacy. The comments showed friends asking what happened with Lindsay playing the victim to perfection. I closed Facebook without responding and called Marcus Chen back. "Gary. Great news." Marcus's voice was excited. "We have a serious buyer. Cash offer. Already young couple just relocated here for work. They love the neighborhood." He paused for effect. "Offer amount is $185,000, higher than we expected." The number hit me with satisfaction. "When do they want to close?" "That's the thing, they want to close immediately. They could move in this weekend if possible." I checked my calendar. Today was Thursday. This weekend, they're in a corporate apartment month to month. Very motivated buyers. Marcus's enthusiasm was infectious. "Can you handle expedited closing? I can have paperwork ready by tomorrow." Make it happen. Friday morning found me at the title company office signing papers with methodical precision. I met the buyers, Michael and Sarah Thompson, early 30s, the kind of hopeful young couple that reminded me of Lindsay and Todd, before cynicism took hold. "We love what you've done with the landscaping," Sarah said during our final walkthrough of the empty house. I didn't mention it wasn't my landscaping. "It's perfect," Michael said, accepting the keys. "We can move in tomorrow morning." The bank transfer confirmation appeared on my phone. $185,000 minus realtor fees equaled $175,000 profit. I'd turned my gesture of paternal love into a solid business win. Saturday morning, I decided to drive by the property one last time. I arrived to see a U-Haul truck in the driveway, Michael and Sarah directing movers with infectious energy. A baby crib was being carried inside, young family, starting fresh, in a house that had seen too much disappointment. I parked across the street, watching Sarah plant flowers in the front garden, while Michael assembled a swing set in the backyard. My phone rang with an international number, and I answered just as a taxi pulled up to the house. Perfect timing. Lindsay stepped out first, exhausted from travel, but immediately alert as she surveyed the scene. Todd paid the driver, his face shifting in confusion. "Excuse me, Todd," called to Sarah, who looked up. The scene, pulling an envelope from my jacket pocket. Lindsay spotted me, her face shifting from confusion to understanding to pure fury in the span of 3 seconds. "Dad, what is going on here? Why are strangers in our house?" Lindsay's voice carried that sharp edge I'd grown tired of hearing. Michael and Sarah exchanged worried glances, Sarah still holding her gardening trowel, like she might need to defend her new home. "Sir, I don't know who you are," Todd said to Michael, "but you need to move your belongings out immediately." Michael held up his paperwork. "I have the deed right here. We closed yesterday. That's impossible. This is our house." Sarah's voice was small but determined. "Maybe we should call the police," I stepped forward, my voice carrying the calm authority I'd learned in my years managing construction projects. "That won't be necessary." Lindsay's tone turned demanding. "Dad, fix this now." I addressed Michael and Sarah first. "I'm sorry for the confusion. Please continue with your move-in." Then I turned to Lindsay and Todd. The house was sold because it belonged to me. Todd's face reddened. "What do you mean belonged to you?" "Check the original deed. It was never transferred to your names." Lindsay's voice rose to that familiar shriek. "You can't just sell our home." "I can sell my property," I replied evenly, "which is exactly what I did. This is theft. We'll sue you." Todd was practically shouting now. "With what money? I believe your credit cards were declined in Paris." Michael whispered something to Sarah, who nodded and started toward their front door. "Their front door now." "Please go inside," I told them. "This doesn't concern you." Lindsay's voice turned desperate. "Where are we supposed to live? Where are things?" I extended the envelope I'd been holding. Todd snatched it, tearing it open with angry fingers. He read aloud, "Secure Storage Unit 47B Brady Street." "Storage," Lindsay's voice cracked. "You put our life in storage. I preserved everything carefully. First month's rent is paid." Todd crumpled the paper. "This is insane. You can't do this to family. Family doesn't exclude fathers from family vacations." "That's completely different, is it?" Todd stepped closer, trying to intimidate through proximity. "We'll contest this. We'll fight you in court. The sale is legal. The property was mine." Lindsay's voice took on a persuasive edge, the familiar tone she'd employed since her younger days, whenever she desired something. "How could you betray your own child like this?" I gazed at her for what felt like an eternity. "How could you betray your own father like that?" Sarah stepped out of the house, her voice laced with worry. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is perfectly all right," I reassured her. "Wishing you all the best in your beautiful new space." Lindsay and Todd lingered on the sidewalk, their European luggage clutched tightly, resembling travelers who had unwittingly stumbled into a world that wasn't their own. I strolled back to my car, each step deliberate, my sturdy work boots firmly connecting with the pavement beneath me. "This isn't over!" Todd shouted behind me. I settled into my car, the engine humming to life as the classical music gracefully picked up right where it had paused. Absolutely it is. 3 months had passed when I found myself absorbed in the morning paper, the sudden chime of the doorbell breaking my concentration. A process server approached me delivering the legal documents pertaining to Lindsay and Todd's lawsuit. I signed for them with a sense of inevitability. By afternoon, I found myself poring over the court's decision in the comfort of my kitchen. The case has been dismissed. The owner of the property possessed the lawful authority to sell his own asset. The judge approached the case with a meticulous eye, showing little compassion for their assertions. Todd and Lindsay had to bear the burden of their own attorney fees. My attorney reached out to me in less than an hour. "Clear win, Gary. There are no valid reasons for an appeal." A brief piece appeared in the community newspaper. The long-standing family property dispute has finally reached a resolution. I organized all the documents in my fresh folder titled Legal Victory and continued with my day. The whispers in town had been swirling for months. While sitting in the coffee shop, I caught snippets of various conversations around me. I have always perceived that son-in-law as somewhat privileged. People remarked that Gary Owens dedicated himself tirelessly throughout his entire life. He truly deserved more than what he received. Whispers of disapproval floated through the air. Families must remain united. But I had come to understand how to let the judgments of others slide away from me effortlessly. Encountering Marcus Chen at the hardware store, he inquired, "How are you managing with everything?" Exceeded my expectations. That afternoon, I found myself at the pet store I had spotted months earlier. Max, a lovable 3-year-old golden retriever, found himself in search of a new family as his current one prepared for an overseas move. He has spent time with a family as great with people and enjoys car rides as the owner shared. I knelt down, and Max came right over his tail, wagging, as if he had been eagerly anticipating my arrival. The bond was immediate. Max appeared to grasp my solitude while I acknowledged his yearning for a companion who would remain by his side. An hour later, Max was in the passenger seat of my car, his head out the window, as we both ventured towards an unknown future. On that initial night, he rested beside my bed. For the first time in what felt like ages, we both experienced a sense of togetherness that had been missing. With Max curled up at my feet, I immersed myself in the world of travel trailers online. Top RVs for senior travel inspired me to explore themes of liberation and exploration. At RV dealerships, the salespeople were enthusiastic and ready to assist. I took a 25-foot Airstream for a spin, and it felt just right for me and my dog, who had already made himself comfortable in the passenger seat before we even finalized the paperwork. I combined the trade-in value of my second car with my savings to buy it outright. Max instantly fell in love with the RV lifestyle. We carefully mapped out our journey. National parks, quaint little towns, destinations I had longed to explore but had set aside due to family commitments. The morning we departed from Davenport, my home was ready for a long absence. I had set up a mail hold and requested my neighbors to keep an eye on the property. As I loaded the trailer, I carefully packed the camping gear, Max's supplies, and a single photo album filled with memories of Lindsay's childhood, a time before the disappointment altered our paths forever. Max felt the thrill of adventure approaching, his enthusiasm contagious, as I turned the key in the ignition and ensured the trailer was securely attached. We made our way through Davenport one final time, passing by the once familiar spots that seemed to have shrunk in size. As I strolled past Maple Street, I caught sight of Michael and Sarah's little ones joyfully playing in the yard. The home was finally brimming with the happiness it was destined to embrace. The road sign announced Colorado 500 miles ahead. Max leaned out the window, my grip firm on the steering wheel, and in that moment, we both felt a sense of liberation. That evening, we paused at a breathtaking overlook in Colorado. I unfolded a camping chair as the sun dipped behind the mountains, casting the sky in hues of orange and purple that I had never paused to appreciate before. Max nestled next to me, radiating a sense of peace and unwavering loyalty. With If this story resonated with you, I'd love for you to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, Thank you for being here with us.